Hello, welcome to nettTracker, where fixed assets are made easy, in fact very easy. My name's Ash and I'm going to be taking you through this tutorial. The total length of this video is just under an hour, but it's not really our intention for you to watch this video in one hit. We'd like it to be as interactive as possible. So, what you should do is check your accounts, make sure you're happy with everything. Then continue to watch the video. Pause the video again, set up your nettTracker company file, check your settings, come back to the video, watch a little bit more, you're understanding exactly how everything works, then go back into your nettTracker, start importing your assets, adding your assets, processing your depreciation. Of course, if there is anything that you don't understand, then raise a support ticket with us and we'll help you out as soon as you possibly can. Now you've seen enough of me. I'm going to move out of the way and get on with the content. Throughout this video, I'll show you how nettTracker works, things to check before you start using nettTracker, how to set up your nettTracker company file, then check your settings and import assets from a spreadsheet. If you've made any mistakes, how you can delete that file and start over. Then general use of nettTracker, adding new assets, processing depreciation, disposing of assets and correcting mistakes. Then how you can run your year end, how you can add further users, and where you can access further help if you need it. So if we look at how nettTracker works, let's look at the data that's coming from our accounting software actually into nettTracker. When we set up, this is going to be the company name, the currency that's in use, and what the current accounting year is. Asset purchases will then be detected based on our settings, and if we make any changes to those asset purchases in our accounting software, we'll be notified of those changes. So now let's look at the data that's sent from nettTracker into your accounting software. This will be journals for your monthly depreciation, journals to reflect any disposals that you've made, journals to reverse depreciation if you've deleted an asset that's had any depreciation on it, for example, and journals to reflect movements at the end of your financial year. Before you start using nettTracker, what you should do is check the fixed asset register as at the last financial year. Ensure you're happy with it. Make sure that asset register agrees to balances on your signed accounts, and also agree those asset balances to your accounting software. Then copy your prior year assets into our template to be imported later. Here's an example of an asset register held in Excel. If I scroll to the bottom of this file, I can see that as of December 19, the total net value of fixed assets is £113,319 rounded up. If I look at the values on the last full set of accounts, I should see that those agree. If I check my accounting software, I should see the same totals in my fixed assets. Have all of your prior year balances been checked and reconciled back to your accounting software? If you're not sure, why not pause the video here and have a quick look? Then come back once you're happy with everything as it is. Without even creating an account with nettTracker, you can access the user guides and the template for importing your fixed assets from the support page on our website. I'm going to use that template now. The import template contains all of the instructions that you need. In this example, I've copied my assets for leasehold improvements, office equipment, and motor vehicles. I've got my total cost, my original purchase, and my accumulated depreciation. It's a good idea to check the totals. I've put some sums at the bottom ensuring that they agree to my balance sheet, which they do, 113,319 when rounded. Once I've checked that, I'll need to remove those from my import template. I'll save my import template now, ready for me to use later. Why not have a break from watching this video and prepare your import template now? Don't forget there is a link to the import template on our website and also included within the Quick Start Guide. We're now ready to start. Prior year fixed asset register has been checked. Prior year signed accounts have been checked. Asset balances in our accounting software has been checked. Our import template contains prior year asset values. Let's now head over to the login page. If you already have an account with us, log in from the left. If you are new to nettTracker, join us on the right. If you had just created your nettTracker account, you would be prompted to create your first company. If this is an organisation that has already set up nettTracker company files, then you will need to go to the account option in the top right and choose New Company. Select a subscription that is available and then choose to connect to your accounting package. If you're an accountant or bookkeeper, you may need to select your company or firm first, then search for your client and then click Next. Then select the option to connect. You're now directed to step 1 of the setup wizard. Check the company name and the default currency are correct. Then check your financial year. My last set of accounts were to 2019, so I'm going to need to change this to 2020. It's really important to get those dates right because we can't change them once they're set. The next is to select your levels of automation. Automatically enter your journals, automatically detect new asset purchases, and then put those new asset purchases onto your fixed asset register. You can set a threshold for that, so nothing below 500 is going to be added to my fixed asset register. Automation can be enabled or disabled from your company settings at any time. Scrolling down, let's take a look at some other settings. We've got some defaults for our depreciation methodology, in year or by month. Let's take a quick look at the difference. Okay, so let's take our financial year to be from January to December. We've purchased an asset for £5,000 in July. Straight line method over 3 years using the by month option simply means this is going to be the cost of the asset, £5,000, divided by 36 months, which will be £138.88 per month. In year means the depreciation will be strictly within each financial year. So if an asset is purchased halfway through a financial year, the depreciation will be spread over the remaining months. In year 2, it will be evenly spread through the remaining 12 months, and year 3 evenly spread throughout the rest of those 12 months. Here I'm going to select in year. We can also choose when an asset reaches a specified value to write that asset off. I'm going to choose any asset that falls below £30 to be written off. We can also allow any existing users to have access to this company. A standard user will be able to run depreciation and add assets and mark assets as disposed if they wish. An owner will be able to do all of that, but will also be able to edit the company settings. With our initial settings in place, we'll choose now to create the company. With step 1 of our setup wizard complete, we have 3 more steps to work through. All I need to do is click Next to move to step 2. On this screen we have a list of depreciation rules that have already been set up, If I scroll down, we can see we've got a mixture of straight line, reducing balance and double decline already in place. Should I want to make one of these rules a global default, I can click on the little tick box and we now have a default rule. If I need to create an extra depreciation rule, first I need to click on the plus create button. I need to give my depreciation rule a name. I need to select the type, which will be straight line, reducing balance or double decline, and then choose whether this is for a percentage or whether the depreciation is for a number of years. Then I click OK. Our new depreciation rule will appear at the bottom of our list. We can access our depreciation rules at any time through our company settings. With depreciation rules in place, we now click Next to move on to our asset groups. You will be presented with two asset groups. I'm going to change the name of one to Office Equipment, and I'm going to add an additional asset group for leasehold improvements using the plus create button. I can also choose to add a default depreciation rule against each of my asset groups. With my asset groups in place, I now need to click on Save Asset Groups. This takes me to the final step of my setup wizard, where I need to map my asset groups to my chart of account categories in my accounting software. In step 1, I need to choose what account category in my accounting software is going to be used for the purchase of new fixed assets. Which account is going to be used in the balance sheet for the provision of depreciation, and which account in the profit and loss is going to be used for my depreciation. I can search for those accounts using the drop-down option. But if I don't have the accounts in place, or I'm not actually sure, then I can just choose a new fixed asset account. I will be able to come back and edit these mappings later if I need to. With step 1 mappings complete, we click Next to move to step 2. Here we choose which balance sheet account is going to be used to record the original cost of an asset when it's disposed, which balance sheet account the accumulated depreciation will be adjusted to when the asset is disposed, and which profit and loss account is used to record the gains and losses on the disposal of fixed assets. With disposal mappings in place, we click Next to move on to our year-end mappings. The accounts in steps 1 and 2 reflect all of our movements during the year. In step 3, we are looking at accounts used for our accumulated balances. As part of our year-end process, journals will automatically be created to adjust our movements during the year that will affect our accumulated accounts. With our mappings complete, we can now finish and save. A simpler chart of accounts setup still requires a separate additions account for each asset group, but the same depreciation account can be used for every asset group. In disposals, we can use the exact same accounts in part 2 as we have done in part 1, but I have used a separate gain or loss account in my profit and loss. In step 3, because we don't need separate accounts for movements, the year-end journals would not be required. If you've not already set up your nettTracker company, why not pause the video, log in and get your nettTracker company set up with the initial settings in place. The dashboard displays a summary of our assets. We can see the total net book value of assets per our asset register. It's currently nil because we've not yet added or imported any assets. We can see the total value of assets per our balance sheet in our accounting software. We can also see a split of those values for each of our asset groups. If I wish to look at my fixed asset register in detail, I just need to click on View All. On the right, we can see our current financial year. If I were to click on Go, I would be able to see my depreciation forecast and also see any depreciation that's already been posted during the year. We'll look at this in detail once I've added some assets. Bottom right, we have the Action Centre. This is where action is required from us. This could be to review transactions to add to our fixed asset register, to process depreciation, or in this case, to review our year end. We'll be coming back to this later. Now let's take a look at the options in our top menu bar. Clicking on Dashboard will always bring us back to this screen. If I click on Assets, that will take us to our asset register. If I click on Transactions, that's where I'll be able to look at new transactions that I can add to my asset register. If I click on Settings, I can check my depreciation rules, my asset groups and mappings, and I can also look at my company settings. Let's take a look at those company settings now. If I wish to edit my company settings, I need to click on the pencil in the yellow box. Here we see a similar screen that we've seen in step 1 of our wizard. From here you can change your company name, you can enable and disable the automated features, you can change the defaults for your depreciation methodology and whether or not you wish to use the journal referencing from nettTracker. You can also choose to edit the automatic write-off feature and enable the class function. After saving any changes to our company settings, we can see we have a summary of those settings. On the right, I can see the users that currently have access. If I scroll down, I can see the current connection status between nettTracker and our accounting package. If I wish to disconnect from my accounting software, I can easily do so. And if I've made any mistakes in setting up, I can actually request to delete this company. During the setup process, we created asset groups and mapped those to the chart of accounts in our account software. Let's just take a quick look at those. For each of my asset groups, I can see what the default depreciation rule is, and I can also see how these have been mapped to my chart of account categories in my accounting software. If I wish to change the name of the asset group or the default depreciation rule, I can do so by clicking on the pencil icon. If I need to create a new asset group, I just have to click on New Asset Group. If I need to change the way my asset groups have been mapped to my chart of account categories in my accounting software, I need to click on Manage Account Mappings. If we're happy with our company settings, we can now import our assets. First, we need to either click on Assets or we can click on View All from within the Asset Register summary. At this point in time, we can see our asset groups, but they don't yet contain any assets. I want to import my assets from December 2019. I need to go to the top right hand corner and click on the yellow icon with the 2 arrows. I'd already imported my template from the Quick Start Guide, but if you hadn't got it yet, you can download it from here. Just a reminder on what the template looks like and some tips on completing. Ensure the asset group is spelled exactly as it is in nettTracker. If it's spelled incorrectly, you'll have problems importing. Ensure the depreciation method has been set up in nettTracker. Ensure your dates are correct and that each asset contains a description. Ensure your cost, your original cost is correct and your accumulated depreciation to the end of the last financial year is also correct. With my template saved, I need to choose my file. Once my file is uploaded, I can review from this screen. If there are any errors, they should be highlighted with red boxes. All looks good. I can now complete my import. This process is not reversible, so I need to make sure everything is correct before I proceed. If I'm happy, I can proceed with my import. All of my assets have now been imported. If you've not yet done so, have a go at importing your assets. And then after you've done that, take a 5-minute break. You've earned it. When we record our transactions for asset purchases in our accounting software, which can be for bills, expenses and journals, it's important that we use the correct account category. This is the additions account that we've mapped to our asset groups. If we don't use this account when we purchase our assets, the transactions will not appear within nettTracker. During 2020, I've recorded purchases for new fixed assets but not yet added them to my fixed asset register. This explains why my external book value on my balance sheet is greater than the value on my asset register. To the right, in the Action Centre, I can see there are transactions that need to be reviewed. So I'm going to click on View Transactions. In the transaction screen, I can see the current financial year. I can see any transactions that are in the pending area ready for me to review and add to the fixed asset register. To review a transaction and then add to my fixed asset register, I first need to click on Pending. I can now choose to create an asset or ignore the transaction if it's been recorded in error. Remember though, if it has been recorded in error, I need to go and change that transaction in my accounting software. Here I'm going to choose to create the asset. From this screen, we can see the description on the transaction has been added to the asset name. There are other fields we can use like the asset number or reference and the supplier name, and we can add further notes if we'd like to. Some of the fields can't be changed. The date of the acquisition, the asset group which is mapped to our chart of account category, and the original purchase cost of the asset. For this company, the depreciation methodology is in year, which means the calculations start from the beginning of this financial year. This doesn't mean that journals will start posting from January. What it does mean is that I will have a full year's worth of depreciation calculated from the date of acquisition. If I wish, I can change my company settings, or on each asset I can choose to start the depreciation from an alternative month. If this transaction was a stage payment for a large asset, I can choose the option to defer the depreciation and then start the depreciation at a later date. We'll look at this in another section of this tutorial. If I'm happy with the details on this particular transaction, all I need to do now is click OK and add this asset to my asset register. All transactions added to the fixed asset register will now be in the processed area. If we ignore any transactions, they will be in the ignored area, and if any transactions have been recategorized or deleted in our accounting software, they will appear as recategorized. With our prior year assets imported and our current year assets added to our fixed asset register through the transactions area, we can now see from the fixed asset register summary that the nettTracker book value and the external book value agree. We've not yet processed any depreciation for this financial year. So from the Action Centre, I'm going to select Asset Processing. From this area, we can see our assets are listed within each of the asset groups, and the depreciation that is due against each asset for each of the months. To start bringing my depreciation up to date, I'm going to click on Process Assets on the right hand side. I'm choosing to process depreciation to the 31st of December 2020, all 12 months of this financial year. We can see now depreciation has been processed for all 12 months. The depreciation will show in each month separately within your accounting software. Now let's take a look at deletions and disposals. If we have found that a transaction has been added to our asset register in error, like this fuel for a hire car for example, we need to delete that, and we can do so very easily using the dustbin lid icon on the right hand side of our asset register. This asset has had depreciation posted against it of £13. Deleting the asset will reverse that depreciation. Here you can see the journal that has been created to reverse the depreciation. These reversing journals will always be dated the last day of the financial year, so if you have deleted an asset halfway through the year, you may need to manually adjust your journal entry date. We must remember to recode that transaction back in our accounting software. If we don't, it will appear back in pending. Here I've changed the transaction to motor running expenses, which is an expense category. Now that I've recategorised that transaction, it appears within the Recategorise tab in the Transactions area. Just before we look at disposing an asset, something else you need to be aware of with deletions. You can only delete an asset if it was purchased in the current financial year. So you'll notice on this fixed asset register, any items from a previous financial year cannot be deleted, only disposed. From this fixed asset register, we're going to dispose of the safe for the office. To do this, I'm going to click on the disposal icon on the right hand side of the screen. When I record the disposal, I enter the date of the disposal and the disposal value, which could be my proceeds. This will not create a sales invoice. I'll need to record that in my accounting software. If I wish for the current year depreciation to be reversed, the tick will already be in place. If I want the depreciation to remain in place for this current year, I'll remove the tick from the box as I have done here. Then I'm going to click on OK to mark the asset as disposed. The asset will move to the bottom of the group and it will be highlighted in green to mark that it's been disposed. The disposal columns will be populated with the cost of the disposal and the depreciation that's been adjusted. If I take a look at my profit and loss report, the gains and losses on the disposal of fixed assets is currently zero. If I take a look at that account in detail, we can see the journal that was created. If I did sell that asset for £150, that sale would affect this account and would then show a profit of £150. Okay, back over to you. Review your transactions and add those to your fixed asset register. Process the depreciation up to the point when any asset may need to be disposed. Make those disposal entries and then continue to process the depreciation until you are up to date. When your company has reached its financial year end, you'll automatically receive an email to advise you it's time to review your fixed assets. Once you've logged in, year-end processing pending will be displayed within the Action Centre. Before you run the year-end process in nettTracker, you need to check a few things. Make sure you review your bookkeeping software thoroughly and ensure everything is up to date. Review your fixed asset register. ensure you're happy with everything that's listed on there. Make sure you agree your balance sheet back to your asset register. We can assist you with that with the values that are on the dashboard. If there are any differences, it could be a timing difference, so make sure you investigate those. With all of my bookkeeping up to date and my fixed asset register agreeing back to my balance sheet as displayed on my asset register summary on this dashboard, I'm now going to start my year-end process. On the right hand side of the screen, I'm going to select Start End of Year. And then I'm going to click on Start Year-End Process. For each of my assets, I can review the net book value and I can make adjustments to the depreciation, increasing or decreasing if I wish. If I wish to change the depreciation rule in the next financial year, I can do that from here. As part of the year-end process, nettTracker automatically checks to make sure all transactions have been processed and added to your fixed asset register. nettTracker also checks that all depreciation has been processed and everything is up to date, and that no assets are in a warning state, showing with a negative net book value, for example. If I'm happy that my accounting is up to date and my fixed asset register is up to date, I should now complete my end of year. From this point, I can select my next end of year date, which will automatically be 12 months from now. I'm choosing to process end of year journals, which will move all of my movements for the year into my accumulated balances. If you use the same accounts for additions and disposals, you will not need to do that. In my example, I am using separate accounts. I'll now complete my year end. I now have new depreciation forecast figures in for the new financial year. After clicking on Assets, we're now looking at our fixed asset register for our new financial year, with our new accumulated brought forward cost values and our accumulated brought forward depreciation. In this example, we can see that as of the 31st of December 2020, our accumulated balances, our movements during the year for additions, depreciation and disposals are all shown separately. After the year-end process has been completed, all of those movements will roll forward into our accumulated balances in our balance sheet. If I click on the yellow calendar icon, I can look back at previous fixed asset registers. Are you ready to run your end of year? Just make sure your accounting is fully up to date and everything is reconciled as it should be. Make sure you've checked your fixed asset register thoroughly and you are happy with all of the details that are there. Then go for it. Run the end of year. Then have another cuppa. You've got time. If you're not sure when the depreciation calculations need to start for an asset purchase, you can choose to defer that depreciation. Later, you can decide when that depreciation needs to start from. When we know when the depreciation needs to start, we can click on the defer icon in the asset register and set our depreciation start date. If you wish to edit details of an asset, click on the pencil icon on the far right hand side. Here you can choose to add an asset number or reference, edit the name of the asset, and add details of the supplier if you desire. You can also add additional notes, and if you wish to set a residual or salvage value, you can do so. To view the audit trail of an asset, first you must click on the little magnifying glass. At the top of the screen we have some information about the asset, when it was acquired, the depreciation rule in place. This asset is currently inactive because it's been fully written down. There are two tabs for depreciation history and audit trail. The depreciation for 2021 is blank, there's no further depreciation due. I can click on the calendar icon and look at the depreciation for the previous year and how it was posted. If I click on the audit trail, I can see the depreciation postings that have been written to our external accounting software. If you have several assets created from multiple transactions, you can choose to group those assets together using the kit function. I'm going to go to the Create button at the top right hand corner of the screen and choose the option to create a new kit. I need to give my kit an asset name, choose the date acquired. This is really just the date that the kit was created, and then choose my asset group. I'm now going to choose the transactions from that asset group. 3 transactions, all for boardroom furniture, and then I'll click OK. So those 3 items now fall within boardroom furniture. If I click on the arrow, we can expand and see all the items within. Assets that are part of a kit will continue to have the depreciation calculated separately as shown. If we need to split a single transaction into multiple assets, we can use the kit feature for that. I'm going to click on the kit icon to the right of my asset. I'm going to choose to create kit from asset. I split my transaction into the number of required lines using the plus button. If I have a rounding difference, I can correct that on the last transaction. The allocated value is the net book value against each asset. Once complete, I can click OK. My single transaction for 5 laptops is now a kit that has been split into 5 separate laptops. All assets that are grouped within a kit have their own option for deletions and disposals. You can download your fixed asset register into Excel at any time by clicking on the red download button at the top right hand corner of your screen in the asset register. If you've made errors getting started, you can quickly delete your company file. Go to Settings and choose Company Settings. Towards the bottom of the page, choose the option to request deletion. Type in the name of your company and then click OK. Your company will be removed. You may need to log out and log back in, or even refresh your browser and clear your cache before you can create the company again. To add a new user, you first need to click on Account, top right hand corner, and then click on your profile name. On the screen, you'll see the information of the organisation you have access to. Choose to view details. On the third tab across at the top is the option for users. To add a new user, click on the New User button towards the right. On the left, enter the name of the new user, their mobile number and their email address. You can also create a password for them. On the right, you can choose the user roles. You could allow this user to add further users or amend the subscription, and you can also allow the user to manage the payments against this subscription. If they don't need those additional admin roles, just click OK. If you have multiple companies in place, you can choose which companies the user can have access to. A standard user will be able to use nettTracker and process the depreciation and add assets. As an owner, they will be able to do that, but also edit the company settings. Once you've added the companies, scroll to the bottom and click OK. To the right of each user, you have the option to edit their details, change the companies they have access to, or delete them. When you first log into nettTracker, you will arrive at the organisation dashboard. All of the nettTracker companies you have access to will be listed. You can change the way they are displayed from the list to tile view. And you can also search for your company. To add a new subscription or to change our method of payment, we need to click on Account, select our profile name, and then go into our organisation details. To purchase a new subscription, go to the Subscriptions tab and select New Subscription. From here you can choose a subscription for one company or a multi-company subscription for 5 companies. If you need more than 5 companies, then contact nettTracker. To add a payment method, which will be debit or credit card information, go to the Payment Methods tab and then click on New Payment. Enter the card information and then click on Save Card. Select the subscription the card should be paying and then click OK. All credit and debit card information is held separately and securely by the provider listed. If payment of the subscription has not been made for 2 months, the account will automatically be suspended. If you require copies of your invoices for your subscription, go to the Invoices tab where you can view and download them from there. If you log into nettTracker and discover errors have been encountered while trying to post your journal entries, this is what you can do to try and resolve them. First of all, click on Go within the Journal Errors box. We can see here that the journal has failed. Towards the bottom right of this page, underneath Result, there is Protocol Error, and the 2 arrows indicate we can expand that page. If I scroll down, I can see all of the details, and I'm actually interested in the response content. The response is telling me this journal number has already been used. The reason why this error has occurred is because in the QuickBooks Advanced settings, the warning to duplicate a journal number has been enabled. You can avoid this error by either disabling this setting or use the journal referencing that can be provided by nettTracker. After changing my company settings, I can now attempt to post the journal again. We can now see the journal status has changed to posted. Wherever you see the help icon, help is available. It could either be embedded within the page, or from Help within the top menu bar. Help with this page will provide a help article and in some instances a video. Choosing Help and Support will take you to the Help Centre. On the left hand side there are guides to frequently asked questions, and on the right you can contact support by creating a support ticket. We've tried to make nettTracker as easy to use as possible, but if there is anything you're not sure of, please raise a support ticket and submit your problem to us. You can also refer to the help and support pages on the website. Check out our news page, which will include details on any updates released and links to any webinars that we are providing.